Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Johanna Chan. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Carrie Lam says she's disappointed with top officials who attended a Wan Chai party, resulting with the Home Affairs chief being sent to quarantine. Hong Kong records more COVID cases with different clusters continuing to expand. And Henan province becomes new COVID hotspot on the mainland. The government is rocked by a COVID scare, with the Home Affairs chief sent to quarantine after senior officials attended a birthday party in a Wan Chai establishment. Chief Executive Carrie Lam expressed disappointment at the behavior of some of those who occupy high positions in her administration.
Carrie Lam did not mince words when she met the media this evening in a hastily arranged briefing, which was called after several senior officials were found to have attended a birthday party despite fears about COVID.
As the Chief Executive of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, I have the first accountability to the people of Hong Kong in fighting this COVID-19 pandemic. But the principal officials and other senior officials of the SAR government have to perform their respective duties in observing the rules promulgated by the Food and Health Bureau, and also have to watch out their own behavior.
What began as a birthday party for a senior tech executive turned into a full-blown crisis for the government. This poster circulating online suggested that the host was Whitman Hong, a deputy to the National People's Congress and the principal liaison officer for the SAR at the Tianhai Authority. More than 100 people, including 10 senior government officials, attended the banquet at Reserva Iberica in Wan Chai. They are Home Affairs Secretary Casper Choi and his deputy Jack Chan, Financial Services and the Treasury Secretary Christopher Hui and his Undersecretary Joseph Chan, Undersecretary for Innovation and Technology David Chung and his political assistant Lillian Chung, Undersecretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Clement Wu, as well as Police Commissioner Raymond Siu, Immigration Director Ao Ka Wang, as well as ICAC Commissioner Simon Pei. The party started at 6 p.m., but one unidentified guest who arrived at 9:30 has now been classified as preliminary positive for COVID. Casper Choi was deemed to be a close contact and has been sent to Penny's Bay Quarantine Center. Lam said she was deeply disappointed in the officials, especially in Choi.
Distinction should be drawn between one who spent the whole night on the occasion and hence put himself in a highly risky situation that requires him to be quarantined, and others who just dropped by and to say hello or to congratulate the host and then left.
Lam said 8 of the 9 remaining officials had left the banquet before 9:30 p.m., meaning they did not have contact with the patient and were safe. She said further action will be taken.
An hour after Carrie Lam told off her colleagues, Casper Choi apologized in a Facebook post. "I wish to apologize to the chief executive, the political team, my colleagues at the Home Affairs Bureau, and the public," he said. "I will seriously reflect on my mistakes while in quarantine and will not let down everyone's expectations." The Home Affairs Secretary also removed his profile picture. Authorities are scrambling to snuff out various COVID clusters as they continue to pop up all over the city. 2 more Indonesian foreign domestic helpers tested preliminary positive as authorities try to track down everyone who attended church with them last week. Winna Wong reports.
Hong Kong reported 33 new cases overnight as various clusters across the city continued to grow. 28 of them were imported, while 5 are considered import-related local cases. There were also dozens of new preliminary cases. One of the main clusters stems from Tin House Six Garden restaurant. More people who had breakfast there on New Year's Eve tested preliminary positive or are confirmed cases. They include a 42-year-old surveyor who was previously classified as an untraceable case. It's believed the mother of a flight attendant had spread the virus to people who dined in the restaurant at the same time as her. Authorities say around 10 patrons who ate there between 8 and 10 a.m. on December 31st remain unaccounted for. Dr. Chuang-Shuk Kwan from the Center for Health Protection urged them to be tested immediately. The flight attendant's mother has also been linked with several other cases as the government continues to trace her whereabouts over the past few weeks. They include a friend's Indonesian foreign domestic helper. The maid had spent much of her time in church on January 1st and 2nd, and 2 others in the congregation, also Indonesian domestic helpers, also tested preliminary positive. Other related cases involve friends the mother danced with and a patron from the East Ocean Lafayette restaurant in Causeway Bay, where she dined. At the same time, Puikyo Middle School in North Point has suspended classes for 3 days after a parent was diagnosed with COVID. Winna Wong, HKIBC.
The government may open 2 more vaccination centers to cope with the rush as residents try to beat the latest COVID outbreak and a vaccine bubble plan late next month. The vaccination rate shot up this week, with more than 18,000 people receiving their first dose on Tuesday, the highest number since September. Online bookings show that more people opted for BioNTech than the Chinese-produced Sinovac. So far, around 73% of the city's eligible population have had at least 1 dose, but the rate among the elderly remains low. Restaurants are worried that tighter rules against COVID could lead to losses of as much as $6 billion for the industry. Catering sector lawmaker Tommy Chung complained that restaurants are distressed.
With the Lunar New Year approaching, restaurants fear they will be hit in the pocket because of new anti-COVID restrictions. From tomorrow, dine-in services are banned after 6 p.m. and seating capacity per table reduced. This follows the emergence of 2 new clusters. Catering sector lawmaker Tommy Chung argued that the catering trade has complied with government orders to fight COVID.
I really am very distressed that every time some businesses who doesn't care about enforcing rules and regulations and get exemptions from government cause all these problems that at the end of the day restaurateurs suffer. I'm asking, and my trade is asking, why has it to be us?
Chung urged the authorities to consider jail terms for violators, so those who flout isolation rules will think twice. He also appealed for subsidies, noting that bills and bonuses have to be paid this month. The lawmaker said restaurateurs could lose up to 80% of their business, costing the industry around $6 billion in half a month. While the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department said more restaurants are opening than closing, Chung warned people to be careful when investing in or starting new restaurants in the time of COVID.
This is not going to go away soon, and you have to plan not just for the next 6 months, but to plan for the next 3-4 years. And I don't see, light at the end of the tunnel.
Separately, Health Chief Sophia Chan hopes that tighter curbs can keep the virus away, so businesses can reopen in a safe environment during the Lunar New Year.
The $105 million Mark VI draw has been postponed due to COVID. The Jockey Club said the arrangement is to avoid crowding inside off-course betting branches. The draw was originally scheduled for Saturday, but has now been pushed back to January 20th. All accepted bets remain valid. Henan province is emerging as the latest COVID hotspot on the mainland, which recorded 132 local cases yesterday. A Delta outbreak in the city of Xi'an is still raging despite stringent movements and travel curbs. Sarah Wong reports.
China appears to be struggling to snuff out its largest Delta outbreak. A draconian lockdown, back-to-back mass testing, and strict crowd control haven't stopped the virus from spreading in the heart of Shanxi province. In the provincial capital, Xi'an, new local cases bounced back to 63 yesterday, after dropping to 35 on Tuesday, pushing the total there to above 1,800. An 8-month-old girl is among several children who have contracted the fast-spreading variant. Xi'an Airport suspended all international flights after grounding domestic flights earlier. But health officials say the risk of a large-scale resurgence has been contained. 13 million residents were locked down for 2 weeks, which authorities said was necessary to avert a Delta explosion. But concerns remain after neighboring Henan province saw local transmissions ballooning to 64 yesterday. 50 patients were found in Xuchang City, which has introduced movement curbs and mass testing. The Henan outbreak put Beijing and nearby Hebei province on heightened alert ahead of the Winter Olympics next month. But there was relief in the port city of Ningbo in Zhejiang province after officials declared that a Delta cluster was successfully clamped down. Sarah Wang, HKIBC.
3 senior officials of a hospital in Xi'an have been penalized for the miscarriage a woman suffered after being denied admission because her COVID record had expired. 2 department heads were sacked and a general manager was suspended. The authorities said Gaoxin Hospital had been negligent and ordered it to pay compensation and apologize to the woman and her family. Netizens were outraged when her niece posted a video showing the woman, who was 8 months pregnant, in agony outside the hospital on New Year's Day. And coming up after the break, Kazakhstan appeals to a Russian-led alliance for help as protesters go on rampage.